listeners from around the world. Are you ready? Do you love movies, music, animation and art, acting, gaming, and all things creative? Well, you've come to the right place. Introducing your host, award-winning writer, director, voiceover artist, and owner of MLA Entertainment, Keiko!
Thank you, Josh, and hello, everyone. Welcome to Keiko's Diary, your favorite podcast for all things entertaining and creative. While I wear many hats, I consider myself first and foremost a storyteller. I love everything about the arts and all forms of entertainment, which is why I started this podcast, to connect with other creative minds and allow them to share their stories with all of you and have a great time while doing it. We've got an exciting episode in store for you guys and a very special guest, but first, some quick
shameless plugging.
Hop on over to our YouTube channel, MLA Entertainment, and take a look at our original web series, Project Infinity. It's got an amazing voice cast, seriously, from Japan to Australia to New York, they're everywhere. A really gripping and intense story, and hours of love and hard work poured into it. I wouldn't suggest it to you if I didn't think it was worth your time, so go over there and watch it right now. Also, like, subscribe, and leave your questions and comments to show your support for this podcast and MLA. And now, on with the show. He's a guy who delivers your daily dose of nostalgia. He's the authority on all things Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, and more. He brightens my day, and I know he'll brighten yours. He's actually 3 beavers in a trench coat. Please give a warm welcome to our very special guest, Canadian Guy A.
Hello, how's it going, everybody? And that 3 beavers in a trench coat's a secret. We're supposed to find out later in the interview.
Yeah, we can't let that get out. Sorry.
That's okay. So, my name is Canadian Guy A. I am a YouTuber, content creator, live streamer. I create content on YouTube and also stream to YouTube. And I cover a lot of nostalgic games, but primarily I talk a lot about Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. And I also talk a little bit about Sly Cooper and all these other really intense platformers that were really popular, especially in the 2000s and 90s. So that's kind of my shtick, you know?
Yes, and we love it. I just love your content and everything you do. I think you're so positive, and you're such an example to everyone of what life is really about. It's just that magic and never letting go of it. So I love what you do.
Thank you. No, it takes a lot to do it, but it's a lot of fun to do. It's, you can't do this if you don't love it, and if you don't love it, then you couldn't be able to do it this long or be able to just be able to show that passion, because if you're not passionate about something, it'll really seep through. But if you're passionate about something, people are attracted to seeing that love and passion for something. When someone sees someone so passionate about something that even they're a fan of, or maybe they're not even a fan of, it's still something amazing to see someone as dedicated, or as, it's almost, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, there's an energy. It's an energy of seeing someone passionate about a subject. And that goes for anybody, not just my channel, but any channel and anybody, whoever wants to create content. That's what's really the key secret ingredient. So when you see someone else have that passion, it's really uplifting to see.
I agree completely. You can always tell when someone's having fun and when their heart's in it. And I think that's one of the things I love about your channel so much, is your enthusiasm for these games. It's just so obvious, and it just makes it so much more fun to watch your videos.
I try my best to let all my enthusiasm out on the board. That, like, what you see in the videos, that's me. Like, you see these YouTubers, you can tell when they're talking, you can tell, like, yeah, it's kind of off, but me, no, that's me, because in my videos, I'm just like that on my live streams as well. You see me on my live streams, I am just as bolstering as, and I'll stream for 4 hours where I am just like jumping up and down, losing my marbles, and having a good time. And yeah, that's me. that is me. It's not, it's not this fake persona that I've created. That's me. And you can ask any of my friends or family, they're always just like, yeah, my sister nicknamed me Boombox. So there you go.
That's hilarious. Well, apparently everyone else loves it as well, and they're loving what you're putting out. So the hard work definitely has paid off.
Yes,
And-
definitely.
Yeah, and speaking of, you first joined YouTube. Not many people may know this, but you joined all the way back on October 6th, 2007. And you've since garnered over 21 million views. 21 million views, people. And 64,000 plus subscribers. And you have a very passionate and loyal fan base who just live for your videos. I know I'm one of them. When I see a video come through my feed, I click on it immediately.
That's
And
awesome.
so,
That's so cool.
yeah.
It's
I
just
don't
weird to
think you
hear that,
realize.
you know?
Yeah, I don't think you realize what an impact you have on so many people and how excited they get when your content comes out.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but there must have been a life before YouTube, obviously. And so I was wondering if we could take a little time to dig back a little further. Could you tell us about your backstory and what eventually led you to YouTube?
All right. So I've always had an interest in making videos. I've always had interest. I remember when I made my very first video back in, oh gosh, I want to say grade 5. And
Wow.
yeah. And this was back with like the old garbage technology that I had. And I remember I tried making something on the Movie Maker or whatever it was called back then. And I was like, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is awful. And I remember the thing I was like, can I just cut this piece of video and move it over here? And of course you can't do that. So it always infuriated me. And then I found some of these free trials for video editing and I put that together. And I've always had a passion to show people my work. So I remember my very first videos I ever made and uploaded was stuff like, oh gosh, one of my very first videos that I made was I took the audio from the trailer for the movie 300 and I edited it to footage from The Legend of Zelda to do like a crossover sort of. So it's like it was really weird. It was like as if like 300 but done in The Legend of Zelda, specifically Twilight Princess. And I remember that was one of my first videos, and I would keep making videos like that for a while. So that was just something I did on the side for fun. And then when I hit high school, it wasn't high school, it was college. When I hit college, I was like, okay, I really want to get into YouTubing. So I was playing this game at the time, which I still play nowadays, called League of Legends.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I did a bunch of League of Legends videos, and I enjoyed League of Legends, but I wasn't passionate about it. And that was the problem, was I enjoyed it and I got burnt out after a summer. I even had a few videos. I had one video hit like 120,000 views and things were going really well, but I was noticing it wasn't meshing. It wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So I took a break from YouTube. And then I tried again while I was in college. I tried making a few videos. I don't even remember what they were. And those flopped. So I was just like, all right, well. But I always had an interest in YouTube. Always did. I always thought that was the job for me because when I went to college for broadcasting and radio, television, and film.
Oh.
So I knew I wanted something in this field. I love to edit and I love to be able to just interact with people in a creative way. And I was like, there's something here. I couldn't find it though. I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was YouTube, but I couldn't get off the platform for some reason. I was having problems and I was having problems for years and years and years. And this is a thing that you hear all the time of people trying to do YouTubing. They have a hard time just getting up and just starting, just getting that first boost. So, I tried different things and nothing really stuck. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not destined to be a YouTuber. So I graduated my bachelor's, and before I even was graduated, I was already lined up for a job at an animation studio to be an animation editor.
Oh, cool.
So I went and I got the job, and which was really cool. I came in right at the right time. I remember I literally walked in, dropped my resume down, and I was going to leave, and I was literally flagged down by the project manager because they literally had their editor walk out 2 days ago. So,
oh my gosh.
So I was like, okay, it was their junior editor at the time. So I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll take the job. So they got me right away, and I was working with visual effects and animation, and that was really cool. And over time, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, but I felt like I felt like I was fitting, but it wasn't 100% fit, you know?
Exactly. There was a missing ingredient.
Yeah, there was. And it was my own creativity, because the thing was is that there was a director that would tell me what to do, and I would try to get little creative things off here and there, and they would approve it or they would not approve it. And that was the problem, was that sometimes you would get something, you would do something a little creative, something a little funky in the animation, and it would get passed through and you're like, yes. But
yeah,
it was always sneaking something through. It was never like, I want to change the direction of the show and I want to do this and add this event.
You wanted that creative freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And the one time I remember, actually, I'll get to that in a second, because there's two parts to this. So once I finished, so what had happened was that I was working there as an employee, and it was good, but as time went on, it wasn't fitting. It just wasn't fitting, and I was starting to get, depression started to really kick in, because it was just like, I would rather have a job that has nothing to do with in the field in comparison to a job that's so close but just wasn't there, right? It's like, imagine being in a desert and you're standing in the green of the oasis, but you're not touching the water. It's
yes, it's so frustrating.
It's right there, and it's just not quite there, and you're not moving. And you've tried, and you're not moving. And then the show that we were working on kind of took a bit of a recession, and not recession, but took, I guess, a recess. They took a break from it, and because it was so abrupt, they turned around, they laid me off. So,
oh no.
So I was just like, crap. Well, that sucks. But I was working. Now this is a key thing. I was an employee to them, and because of that, I live in Canada. If you're an employee for a certain amount of time, you get laid off. You get what's called unemployment, which is you pay into it, but then they give it back to you. So I went on unemployment, and while I waited to get my job back, I waited to see if they would call me back. And so I just sat at home kind of depressed, because I was thinking to myself, man, you were depressed about not having this job. Now you're depressed, or you were depressed about having this job. Now you're depressed about not having it.
Yeah.
So then I did, so I said, okay, well, why don't I try this YouTube thing again? So I tried something new. I went back to League of Legends again, and I did something a little bit different. I turned on my microphone for it this time. This was the first time I had ever turned on my microphone for YouTube. Nobody had ever heard my voice before. And at the time, I had, over the course of, I suppose it would be, 9 years, I had like 200 subscribers over the course of 9 years. And that's just from all the miscellaneous stuff I posted over the course of 9 years. And I had 200 subscribers, and then I tried something League of Legends related, but it was different. It was like, okay, League of Legends has this character that does something really, really weird. He jumps so high in the air and drops down on an axe on their head, but how high does this, I thought, what would it be cool if, like, we try to calculate, like, how high could he jump? And so I did a whole spiel, and I did a whole calculation thing. It was like a Mythbusters episode where I legitimately figured out the height of how high the character could jump. It was like 32 feet in the air or something like that.
Wow.
And that garnered a little, not much attention, but I mean, in comparison to my other videos I'd post that would get 12 views, it hit like 300 views. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I remembered the last thing that I had pre-ordered months back while I still had my job was Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Now, this is when things start to roll. So I got laid off around the time Crash, like a week before Crash came out, was when I got laid off.
That is crazy. Alignment of the stars.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, well, that's, that sucks, but I said I'm not going to buy any more games, but I already had paid off my Crash Bandicoot copy, so I'm going to let that be my treat. So the day came, I got my copy of Crash Bandicoot 4 and I started playing it, and I loved it. Oh, I love the Insane Trilogy. And specifically, I cheated a little bit and I went straight to Warped because I loved it. I cheated. I went to Warped completely because I just sat there just watching the cutscenes and hearing the audio, and it was just this. There was this feeling. I was sitting in my 1-bedroom basement apartment, and there was just this feeling of just nostalgic connection, but familiarity, but new. It was something that something new, but yet something old. And it was was amazing. So I was playing that, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to do a Crash Bandicoot Insane review on my channel, and I did, and it garnered a bit more. It garnered 600 views, and some people commenting saying, "Oh, this was an interesting review," and I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And then it was history from there, because I went on to Twitter for the first time in a long. No, I didn't go on Twitter. It was Facebook. I went on Facebook because I wasn't on Twitter at the time, and there was somebody posted something about Spyro the Dragon.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh man, Spyro. Now, Spyro and Crash hold a really special place in my heart, and the reason why I was like, oh, Spyro, was because I always played Spyro in the same room as my brother, who had since passed away.
Oh.
So when he passed away, I pushed myself away from all of that because it was really hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
When I would play Crash, and when I would play Spyro, I would think of my brother, who had severe autism, was nonverbal, but he would make sounds and he would jump around and be happy as I was playing. He was my older brother, and that was something that was really special to me. But when he passed away, I kind of pushed away from it because it was just too hard.
Yeah.
5 years later, Crash Insane was announced, and I remembered that, but enough time had passed where I was like, okay, I think I can come back to this.
Yeah, you were able to approach it again.
I was, yeah. So then I saw someone say, there was something about Spyro the Dragon in Crash Insane, and then I saw the first 4 figures of them showing the silhouette of Spyro coming to their line. I was just like, and I thought to myself, that's weird. It's weird. Why would they show Spyro stuff when we haven't seen anything since the Legend of Spyro stuff? Or,
yeah.
And I was like, that's really weird. And so I sat down and I started doing research. I was just like, does this show up anywhere else? I was like, in that night, I was up to like 3 a.m. and my wife was just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing research about Spyro. She's like, what? I'm like, just go to bed. So I'm doing my research, and I compiled this list together, and I was like, could Spyro be coming back? And I'm like, this is a definite maybe. So then I made my very first video, evidence of Spyro's return, and that was my very first Spyro video. And I remember, and I remember there was something that went off in my head, because I posted that video, and at the end of the day, it had 12 views.
Yeah.
And I was depressed. I was just like, man, I put so much research into this, and I put so much into it, and not a lot of people seem to watch it, but I did like making it. So I went to bed, and I woke up, and it had 122 views. And I remembered that number specifically, and I was looking at it, just like, that's weird. Why did it get 122 views overnight? I just looked at it, and I was just like, something's there. So
Something promising.
Something promising. So a week had passed, and that video passed 1,000 views, and I haven't had a video pass 1,000 views in years.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, people are really receptive to this, and the comments were really positive. People were like, man, we really want to see Spyro come back. So I was like, okay, that's really cool. So then I had a group of people approach me, which now I consider my best friends. The creator behind Spyro Universe on Twitter, when he had a small following, and the composer to all my music now, at the time named Mecha, and they approached me and they're like, hey, we really liked your video. We want to know if you want to join into this Discord and you want to talk with us. And I was like, okay, sure. I didn't even know what Discord was.
Yeah.
So I joined the Discord, and I realized it was weird. I realized that I thought Spyro was like a smaller title that people liked and then fizzled out, but I didn't realize that people were still in love with this franchise. And I was just like, wow.
Exactly.
So I made 2, 3, 4, and I kept making Spyro videos because it was like a nostalgic throwback for me. And it was like every time I would record footage, I'd get giddy because it was like, oh, I'm playing Spyro for this. And that was insanely fun. And I gained up to, I think I hit 3,000 subscribers.
Wow. That's amazing how it started pouring in after that.
So then my work called me, and they're like, hey, we got the contract back. Are you going to come back? And I was like, well, I kind of have to because, you know, YouTube's not paying a lot. It was paying $80 a month. So, you know, it's $80 a month. That's, you know, groceries a little bit. So
exactly.
I was like, okay, yeah, I got to go back to work. But I'm still going to continue my YouTube thing. Mm-hmm. I would go to work and then I would come home and then I would work on YouTube. I would be found sleeping on my office chair at 4 a.m. But it just because I had this spark and I got to work and I was like, I did my job, I did my duty, but my lunch breaks were me typing up scripts, doing research. I knew this was something. And then so I kept working on it. I was like, I know this is there's something here. So I worked my butt off and all the way until, I'm trying to remember, until I worked to, but I remember I was at work when Spyro Reignited got leaked.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But I was so like not angry, but I had to fight not to watch it because I was like, I want to do a reaction. And this series that I've been talking about for like 7 months just finally dropped the trailer. And I can't watch it. So,
that's terrible.
Every minute felt like an hour. Every hour felt like a day. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I couldn't go on Twitter because I knew people were posting screenshots and screaming about it. And I was just like, oh man. And actually, funny thing, the screenshots were leaked first and then the trailer. But I remember, I know I'm going a little bit of a tangent on this, but I remember when I woke up, it was like 7 a.m. and I'm sleeping in my bed. And my phone goes ba-bunk from Discord. Then ba-bunk, 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 and I'm just like, what in the heck is happening? And my wife takes my phone and throws it at me. She's like, answer your phone. And I'm like, what is happening? Why do I have 86 Discord notifications in a matter of 3 minutes? What happened?
What in the world?
You know, I'm like, someone better have died. Turned out someone came back from the dead. And I opened up Discord and all I see were the screenshots. And I was just dumbfounded, like these shots of Spyro, and I was like shaking in bed. And I turned to my wife. I'm like, what do I do? I gotta get to work. And what's going on? She said, listen, go to your office and do a morning live stream all the way up to you have to leave. I said, okay. So I ran to my office. I just, put my hair was all over the place. And I sat down and I just showed people the screenshots. And I remember that was the biggest stream I had. It was like 124 people. Mm-hmm. And that's how that took off. And then from there, the channel took off to 10,000 subscribers. So in that time, now this is how, but then there's a second part to this story. So I did my job at my animation studio, and internally things were slowing down, but they weren't telling anybody.
Right.
And when I came back, I was a contractor, not an employee. So I had to pay my own taxes, and also if I got laid off, I couldn't get unemployment.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was working there, and internally things were slowing down, and they weren't really telling people. And during this time, my wife had gotten pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we had been trying to move into this place, and somebody had claimed squatters' rights on it, and we had to wait 3 extra months for moving in. She was 6 months pregnant when we tried to get in there. 6 + 3, 9. She was due any day. Like we literally were moving 2 days after my son David was born. 2 days before I went my parental leave, they said, when you get back, you're laid off.
No way. You're kidding.
Oh, no. They said, when you get back, you're going to work a day and then you're laid off.
What? Who does that?
And here's the thing. I just paid my first and last on this place.
Yeah.
And I just had a baby. Mm-hmm. So David was born, and we had to take him to a specialist because they were concerned about something with his lungs. So it was about a week later, we took him to the specialist, which was like an hour and a half away. They checked and they said, nope, everything seems to be okay. Everything's clear. Everything's fine. I'm like, awesome. And on the way back, my son was silent, was a silent child, and all of a sudden he let out a big scream. And I looked back and someone in front of me slammed on the brakes in their car, and I almost rear-ended them. I swerved and I had a truck sideswipe the whole car.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was one of those construction trucks with the stainless steel steps. It just it was like Wolverine just shredded the side of my car. And
oh my gosh, did your life flash before your eyes?
No. I was just stunned. That was it.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is David didn't even react to that. He was just like, meh. So
Unimpressed.
kudos to him. Yeah, unimpressed. I've been hit harder, apparently. So I was just like, so the car was a write-off. They said, so your car's written off, and here's a rental. Go find a new car.
Mm-hmm.
So we just moved in. I had no money. I had no car, and we just had a baby.
Wow, that is crazy. So much to juggle.
Yeah. And I said, what do I do? And at this time, I had 10,000 subscribers.
Right.
And my wife said, you could do YouTube. And I was just like, there's no way. There's no way I could do YouTube. I said, it's full time. I said, nah, it can't be. I said, I'm barely making it now. How are we going to do this full time? And she said, well, just hope and pray. And I said, okay. So I did it. And my very first month that I worked full time, and I worked hard, the first paycheck I got was equal to the amount of a paycheck I would have gotten from my animation studio, almost to the penny.
Oh my gosh. Well done.
and then that's it. That's how it took off. And then we did Spyro. Then we covered CTR. I got to go to Toys for Bob. I got to go visit Beanox. I've gone to PAX. I've met amazing people. And Crash 4 just came out, and we got some stuff coming from Toys for Bob. That's going to be amazing. And I'm beyond excited. I'm so excited, and I still love doing it. And here we are a few years later, and what you see before now is just a amalgamation of all these life events put together. So I'm sorry I went on a 32-minute rant about that, but
No, that's exciting. You're excited. We're excited for all that's to come too. And I just going through that story, it's so cool when you can look back on your life and it's so clear how your path was being directed.
Yeah.
And that's just really neat how the stars just aligned for you like that. When you first lost your job, you would have thought, well, that's not good, but it was all because something better was on the way.
Exactly.
And that's just so cool and exciting. And I'm just so happy for you that YouTube has been such a huge success. And I think it's only the beginning.
I hope so, because man, some of the opportunities that I've had is just, they're already amazing, and anything from here is up. So, I mean, I'm so thankful to be able to have a community. We've cultivated such a kind community all together. We've been able to create such an awesome, just an awesome mood. Like when you hop into the streams, you see people excited for the streams, and not just to see me, but to see each other, right? Because everybody on the Discord server, they're friends with each other, and they have civil debates, and they, that was something that I always wanted, was like, hey, let's keep this a friendly and a genuinely friendly, not be friendly or get the noose. It's genuine. Yeah, because there are places like that, was be friendly or get nixed. No, it's genuine, friendly, good people all
and that's
together.
Really rare.
It is, and it was something that I wanted to make sure to cultivate, and that there was no tolerance for people being angry, mean, or arrogant. It was a place of, hey, relax. And there are people that approach me all the time that say, like, you're hanging out with you in your Discord, I've become a better person because I'm seeing everyone interact so kind together. And that's something that I try to make sure to continue to enforce, and should continue to reinforce, I should say. And I'm very thankful to have that.
Yeah, I think that the community you've built, it speaks highly of who's at the top, which is you. You can kind of get a feel of the person based on what their fans are like.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I love about you, is you're just so positive, and it's just like you said, your fans are like that as well. And I just think it speaks a lot about you.
Thank you. I try my best to be as positive as possible.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Well, that's very exciting. Why don't we take a little chance to play a game that I like to call
the 60-second 411.
Uh-oh. All right.
So what this is, don't worry, you got this.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I've got a stopwatch on my end, and I'm going to set it for 60 seconds. And we've got 15 questions, and we're going to see how many of them we can get answered in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Now, these are just, yeah.
I'm going to try.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, and these are just for fun. They're just help us get to know your likes and dislikes, things that people might not get to know about you otherwise. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right.
Okay, are you ready to play?
As ready as I can be.
Okay. All right, and here we go in 3, 2, 1. Favorite color?
Red.
First game you ever played?
Pokemon Yellow.
Favorite game of all time?
God of War 4.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Hot or cold weather?
Hot.
Oh, favorite song?
Amazing Grace.
Favorite movie?
Avatar.
Oh, hardest game you've ever played?
God of War 4, specifically The Last Valkyrie.
Neocortex, nitrous oxide, or Ripto?
I gotta go with Neo Cortex.
Oh, favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Yeah, night owl or morning bird?
Night Owl.
Favorite subject in school?
History.
First gaming console?
It's Game Boy Color.
Greatest fear?
The entirety of the ocean.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Super strength.
And you did it with 9 seconds to spare. That is awesome.
So yeah, about the greatest fear. Yeah, the ocean just terrifies me. Every aspect of it just.
That is hilarious. It must really freak you out when Spyro drowns in the big open areas, like the.
When I was a kid, it did. Yeah, when I was a kid, it did make me feel a little uncomfortable. Yeah, no, that did. But like people are like, hey, you should play Subnautica, and I'm like, how about Subnautica?
You know, there is something unsettling when you just kind of are in the middle of the ocean and you can't see any land.
Yeah. I'm just, when things go bump on the boat, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah, you've seen Titanic.
No.
Well, that was so much fun. I can't believe you answered all the questions in time.
Yeah.
So, very good. Something I've noticed about you is, and this kind of goes back to what you were talking about, how you just spend so many hours researching late in the night. I love that about you. You should consider being an investigator or something on the side. Because I don't understand where you dig this stuff up. It's amazing. And you present your case in your videos, and it's very exciting. So I was wondering, what's your typical process for making videos, from deciding what the subject's going to be about to putting it out? What's your typical process?
So the process is, what I do is, there's two different kinds of processes. There is, but they all revolve around the same idea. So the news process is very easy. It's if some new footage comes out that's brand new, I'll look at it, I'll scrub through it, I have a good eye for catching small little details, and I'll write those down, and then I'll script it, voice it, put it together, and send it out. So news is fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
But the big ones are the looking to see if something is coming, and those are the big ones that take a lot of time. So, for example, when I did what I do first off is I check everything. So the first thing that I do is I follow patterns of release windows that companies follow. So companies usually that have yearly releases follow patterns. Right. And for Activision, I had thought I had the pattern locked down, and I thought it was funny because what I thought was the pattern, it actually wasn't, but it was actually the opposite way. And so what I will do is, for example, I will sit down and I will literally write down the release dates of games.
Right.
And I find the pattern. Is there a pattern here? Is there a pattern that I'm missing? Is there a detail that's not connecting here? And what I will do is that I will try to exploit what's missing. So I'll see okay, this all connects, but there's something missing here. Why is this one not right? So, for example, recently on my stream, I came up with the 4-month theory for Crash and Spyro. Mm-hmm. It is that 4 months after Activision does a content drop is when the next game is announced. So to give an idea, and this started with Spyro Reignited. So Spyro was supposed to come out in September.
I remember that.
But it got delayed to November. But then do you notice that CTR was announced in December, right?
Yeah, interesting.
But if you do the math, September, October, November, December, 4 months later.
Oh my gosh.
So there was that. So then I was like, okay. So, but that happened once, right? That only happened once. You can't calculate that. So then CTR came out. Well, 4 months later, did Crash 4 come out? No, it didn't. But what was happening was Grand Prix were coming out. Grand Prix, content dropping. Then the last Grand Prix, which was the Gas Moxian Grand Prix, it was in, I believe, February. So February, March, April, May, June. So it finished in February. It came out in February, finished in February. So it was March, April, May, June. 4 months later, Crash 4 got announced. Right?
Interesting. Yes, that's right.
Then I was like, okay. So then Crash came out in October, and about a little bit over 4 months, though it was a little bit off, but a little bit then 4 months later, which was earlier this month, Crash 4 got the announcement for the new ports.
Right.
Coming out in March. So what it is it's whenever Activision drops a lump of content, they advertise it. Then once it releases, there is a 4-month quiet period, and then after 4 months, something happens. And that's why I've been going on this theory that Spyro might be announced, or some new Crash content will be announced in June, because if you go to it comes out in March, so March, April, May, June, 4 months later, that's E3.
That's right.
So what I will do is that I will do stuff like that. So that's one method.
That is really clever.
Yeah. So if looking at release patterns, another method is actually looking at like copyright dates. Like if a project gets their copyright renewed, that means that the publisher still thinks that there's life in there, and copyrights have to be public. They have to be public.
Can't hide that.
If you see a company renew, like let's say an IP, you know that the company at least wants to hold on to it, because if the copyright dies, then that's it. It's done. Game over. That is true game over. True game over is if they let the copyright die and they just leave it there, then that's game over permanently. So the research process will be looking for the smallest things, and I skim through everything. Even if Crash Bandicoot releases like footage that's like an advertisement of like, oh, look at Dr. Neo Cortex and his his Evolvo Ray, even though the game's been out for 3 months, I will still go through it frame by frame to see, was there something added? Was there something changed?
Yeah.
I'll look through it, because if there's something that's changed from when they internally record it, that means there's likely going to be a public change as well, therefore more content coming. So there is a lot of different ways to be able to tell when something is coming, and it's very little. And the thing is, people always look at you like you're wearing a tinfoil hat all the time. But the thing is that it's these little details that people don't see, that people won't willingly look at, that will tell you. For example, with Spyro, how we found out that Spyro was coming was there was this a page called the SAG-AFTRA page, which is for voice actors, and we saw that Activision was posting their posts there for their next project stuff. Well, one of the projects was set there was Project Falcon.
I remember that, the code name.
It's Project Falcon, right? And so we then did some digging, and we found a Twitter user named Falcon McBob. Yeah, so it was Project Falcon being worked on Toys for Bob, right? Falcon McBob.
Yeah.
And then they took the user, because whenever we always pay attention to Twitter users, like, at names, because they have to be unique. Yeah. If brand wants a username and they prove it's their brand, they will take it. And we saw that Spyro the Dragon was owned by just this random burner user. But then all of a sudden it got changed to a random thing of numbers. Her name was changed completely. And we're like, wait, what? And so we typed in again at Spyro the Dragon, and it came up as Falcon McBob. Falcon McBob, Project Falcon. We then connected together. Okay, I didn't. A friend of mine did, was Project Falcon, Falcon McBob. And then where I got my big surge of views was when everyone was looking at the Falcon bit, but I looked at the McBob bit. Everyone thought at the time, it's so funny to think, that it was going to be Vicarious Visions that was going outside the box. I'm like, there's got to be a reason for the McBob. There has to be a reason. And I thought, well, Toys for Bob. And I made that video saying that I think Toys for Bob will be making Spyro, and lo and behold, they were the ones to make Spyro, and that was the big thing. So anyway, back to the subject of the question. So what I will do is I will do this research, and what I will do is I will make just bullet points. I'll just open up a sheet or a piece of paper and just make bullet points. Like, okay, there's this piece, there's this piece, there's this piece, and I'm like, okay, what am I missing? What does this mean? And then I can kind of figure it out from there, and then what I do is I try to figure out how to back up my evidence, but ultimately I try to debunk it too. And that's one of the things that I try to do is I try to debunk my own videos.
Yeah, test your theories.
Exactly. And here's the thing, sometimes I do find a hole. I'm like, okay, there's a hole here. How can I plug that hole? Is there something, and I will do more research related to the hole that I found. And sometimes I'll find even more to not just plug the hole, but reinforce my theory even more. There's recently been kind of not a war, but a big discussion online about how quote unquote Crash 4 has sold badly and that Toys for Bob is working on other projects now. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, and I did some research, and there's a lot of research saying no, there isn't. We looked through one of the things that's really good to look to is job listings.
Right.
So I'll look up Toys for Bob on Glassdoor. I'll look up on official jobs at Toys for Bob. And one of the things that they're looking for are employees who have a talent in the Unreal Engine. And I'm like, okay.
Oh. So
they want talent in the Unreal Engine. The only projects thus far that have been worked on the Unreal Engine is Spyro, Crash, and Tony Hawk. So unless there's a new title coming up, because the rumor was that Toys for Bob was being shifted to another Activision project. But the thing is that Call of Duty has their own engine, right? And the people that they're hiring for were like, it was like 2 days ago, the people that they're looking for are for people who work in the Unreal Engine. That doesn't add up. And so boom, yeah, that's exactly right. Boom. That's how you do these. You have to look in the places that you can't look at just official Twitter places. You can't just look at Facebook. You have to hunt down the nitty gritty, and you have to work your way from the bottom. Look at Toys for Bob, look at the resumes, look at trademarks, look at voice acting. In fact, using the same thing as Project Falcon, I figured out what I think it was the project name for CTR, and it caused so much of a ruckus internally that they took down all of Activision's project names on SAG-AFTRA, and now you can't find it anymore. All of them. So, because I said that it seems that it could be that CTR could be called Project Screwdriver. Now, was that ever confirmed? I don't know, but I don't know if it was confirmed as that. But I mean, Project Screwdriver, Screwdriver, Screwy, Crash Bandicoot, Driver, CTR, it all makes sense, right? I mean, but then as soon as I did that, 2 days later, the whole SAG-AFTRA thing went down. I'm like, well, I hit a nerve.
Yeah, I think that confirmed your theory.
It's when you hit a nerve, when they post something and you make a video talking about it and they take the post down, you hit something.
Yeah.
Sometimes you miss, sometimes you nail it, sometimes you're kind of right, sometimes you're kind of wrong, but that's the whole point of the speculation and theories, is to see, is there life, right? And does it make sense? And so my process is I find all my research and I put it all together. I try to debunk my own videos. And once I find a rock solid set of pieces, I then say, okay, so what I do is I start from the least to the most, and you'll see it in my videos. I'll start with the least amount of evidence and then ramp it up. I don't start with the biggest piece first. I start with the little pieces and then bring it out and show growth, because as people are watching, people are like, okay, well, that's not much. And then you show them something else, like, okay, that's a little bit more, but that pulls their interest. And then it's like, okay, and then you show something bigger. Okay, that pulls more their interest, because, okay, that shows more. And by the time they reach the end of the video, they're convinced because you ramped it up. If you start something big and then trail off with the small stuff, at the end, they might be lukewarm. But if you start off small and build it big, then that is how you can also help convince people, by showing the smallest evidence to the biggest piece of evidence. And you'll see that in all my videos. I call it ramping the hype. right? I start and go to the biggest, right? So people stay engaged and people want to listen more and more and more and more. And that's how I do it. And then once I order that, then I fill it in, I type it in. Because I went to school for in broadcasting and radio, television, and film, I learned to type the way I think. And so I can type a script, and that's how I will say it. Like in my head, I'm saying it and I'm typing it and I know what to say. And what I'll do is then I'll look at the script afterwards and I'll see, can I slide a joke in here? Do I say something that triggers a joke from a movie or a TV show or just something, interesting? Like, and I let that my second editor who helps me out with about a video or two a week, he started picking up on this. And so I said, at least in my recent video today, I said, at least we hope. And he shows footage from Star Wars A New Hope. Stuff like that, like stuff, little connect pieces, funny stuff like that. And so I try to craft jokes from that. And then once the jokes are crafted, then I record it and then I put it together and away she goes.
That is such a cool process, and it is so cool. Like, it gives me chills. I remember when before Reignited had even come out, and you were just putting out the facts that it could be in development, and then when it did get confirmed, it was just like, oh my gosh, he was right. That's happened so many times.
It feels really good. And yeah, so that's usually the process of that. And also too, sometimes an idea will just hit me. Sometimes I'll just like, hey, you know what would be really cool with this? And sometimes it actually makes it into a game. And now I don't know if it's my idea that causes it or if it's just something that's being developed internally and I just, came up with the idea as well. Like the engine swapping, for example. I made a video talking about engine swapping for CTR and it happened, right? That stuff happened. Or I made a called 5 criticisms for Spyro Reignited, and most, if not all, of those criticisms were fixed. So
that is really weird.
Yeah, so they listen to the fans. They really listen to the fans. So yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons why Reignited was delayed.
Well, I know the reason why Reignited was delayed. It was simply I don't want to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
But from what I had heard and from what I have from sources unknown, which I'm not going to mention, I heard that there was some rough development at the end there, and they needed that extra time. They really needed to get the extra time, and they did. Spyro 1 was fine. Spyro 1 was done. It was 2 and 3 that needed the extra works.
Especially the third one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the third one was developed by Sanzaru. It wasn't even developed by Toys for Bob. So I couldn't even imagine the internal, I wouldn't say strife, but the internal communication issues between both those with time constraints and such. So, but yeah, no, it was the delay happened so that they could really polish up 2 and 3. One was, from what I heard, one was done. One was already done. It was the other 2 that needed work. But definitely, I'm happy to hear that I'm so happy that they did delay it because, man, it would have sucked to have Reignited tarnished like that. It's so good. I love Reignited. And
it's beautiful.
Pixar made a video game and it's great. I love it. I love it to death.
I know. I'm so glad that they took the time to really polish it because for many reasons, and Spyro had sort of been absent for so many years, at least in his true form. And so it was really important. It was kind of Spyro's comeback. And so I was really glad that they went for it and did it properly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so I am super excited for this possible 4th Spyro game that could be in development. And so anytime you post about it, I click immediately because I'm really itching to find out more information. And you actually made a video where you shared what you'd like to see happen in this Spyro game if it happens. And so I was just kind of wondering, could you talk to us a little bit about that? And what are some of the main things you'd like to see in it, or as far as the music or the gameplay or the story? What are you looking for?
So what I'm looking forward to is, honestly, there's one thing, like the number one thing is that every single world I entered into in Spyro Reignited, when you entered the portal, the screen goes black, Spyro does his thing,
Right.
and he sees the world, and the camera turns, and you see the whole world in front of you. It was always a like this gasp of just beauty. Like I remember my reaction when I walked into Dark Hollow and seen, because we had never seen any footage of Dark Hollow. They never even released a screenshot, not even a tidbit, not even a tittle, nothing.
Yeah.
I walked into it and the camera panned around and I heard the bass line, the doom doom doom.
Oh my gosh.
And just like the lighting, and just I remember I just sat there staring at it and I was just like, this, and I was like watery-eyed, I was teary-eyed. It was so beautiful, and that's what I want in the next Spyro game, is when that camera turns around to take a look at that level. I want that level to be just eye candy, just absolute beauty, because Toys for Bob can just make art. It just it's just amazing how well they can do it and how well they understand the world. It's just so beautiful. And I had this idea that was similar to like Okami and some other games, where I thought it would be really cool if you show up to the home world and the home world is kind of destroyed, kind of gray, depressing. The water is now poison, and Spyro almost has to purify it by destroying a dark crystal or destroying a little boss in there. He has to almost, like, the home world is almost a level in itself.
Yeah.
Once the level is completed, I was thinking of a cutscene where like life is restored, where you see like grass exploding green and you see vines crawling across certain ways, water being purified and turning crystal clear and beautiful again, seeing the world restore to its beauty and having that awe-gasping. And like when you enter a home world, you see it's almost like destroyed and creepy and scary, but you know that once you restore it, it's going to turn into something beautiful. And the hype and the excitement to see the world restored to its former beauty. You purify the world is restored back to normal, and all the portals turn on, and now you can start going to the different worlds that are associated with that home world. So really, the level design and the level view and just everything to do with that, the level design needs to be perfect. It needs to be great. It needs to have that moment when you see a level. So that is my number one thing. In terms of difficulty, Spyro's never been an exceedingly difficult game. It has difficulty, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
but it's not like Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is your hands are cramped after 2 hours. They feel broken and you hate your life.
Yeah, exactly. It can drive you crazy.
Yeah, Spyro is this relaxing, like I will go and play. Talking about Spyro makes me want to go play Spyro.
Yeah, me too.
Like I said, entering Dark Hollow, that feeling, I want to it feels like lightning in a bottle, and I want to make sure that that is the number one thing. In terms of story, I think we need a new villain, because every game we get a new villain, and I'm really itching to see a new Spyro character. I really want to see what Toys for Bob can do. I always thought it'd be funny if we found out that Ripto was like an outcast of another set of warlocks, and Spyro has to go beat those warlocks now, and they all made fun of Ripto. And I thought it'd be a funny gag where like Spyro's like, well, I beat Ripto so I could beat you, and they all start laughing. They're like, Ripto, what a joke. And you know, they always make fun of, they were always ragging on Ripto, and Ripto left and he found himself in Avalar, and I kind of made that connection. So something like that would be kind of funny.
I loved your video on that, and it would explain why Ripto sort of had a complex.
Exactly. He had this complex of, you know, not being able to rule and all these things, and so to be able to kind of connect it, I think would be really funny. And there's a number of things I would love to see, but really I want to see a lot more of the animations and cinematics. I want to see dragons come back. I had an idea in the recent video where I gave more ideas of what I want to see in Spyro, is that the dragons, when you save it, I want to see dragons come back as at least the main collectible or a collectible. And then when you go back to the home world, you see the dragons interacting with each other in the home world.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, I think it'd be really funny if you see, and maybe if like there's like two dragons that hang out all the time and you unlock one, the one's kind of sad until you go and unlock the other one from a different world. So like maybe you see like just a funny example, if you see at the end of like Spyro 1, you see you see the two dragons in the back, they're playing sheep basketball, right? And they throw the sheep through the hoop. It'd be funny It'd be funny if you saw like a scene where like you see one guy, he's shooting hoops with a sheep. And he's like, oh, it's not the same without so-and-so. And then when you go get so-and-so, when you go back to the world, you see them interacting and having fun. And I think that would be really cool to get more interaction from the dragons, because the dragon designs were just so out of this world. To only see them once and then for them to just float away, it was almost a crime.
Yes, how could they do that?
Like, and they're gone. It's like, but their designs were so good. So it would be like when you first enter the world, when it's all destroyed, it would be like Spyro 1 where there's villains in the home world. You purify it, and then it's like Spyro 2 and 3 where it's all peaceful and happy, and you can see all the dragons interacting with each other and hanging out and just having a good time. And yeah, I think that would be something that would be really cool.
Do you think we could get Stuart Copeland to come back, or do you think not?
I think Stuart Copeland would be back as a it's weird to say, but as an assistant or as like a producer. Like they'll throw the music past him and he'll say yes or no.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to put it out because Stefan Vankoff did a really good job with Reignited. He did a really good job.
Yeah, he did.
So most of the tracks that he did were amazing. And I met Stefan, really, really down to earth and cool guy, really chill. And I think that at the bare minimum, you would need to have Stefan and Stuart Copeland working together. I think that would be the best possible route, because Stefan Vankoff brought some tracks that I felt were a little bit better than Stuart Copeland's, and then some of Stuart Copeland's original tracks were better than Stefan's.
And they really complement each other when they work together.
Right, exactly. So if they work together, I think that they can really make this ultimate Spyro soundtrack, and I think that would be the best bet possible, would be have them as both composing the tracks. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I hope that we see that. And Tom Kenny, do you think he'll return as Spyro?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how did you feel when you found out he would be coming back?
Oh, I was so happy. And I remember when I first saw the trailer, we were still unsure if Tom Kenny was back. But like when I heard the trailer and I heard him say, "You're toast, Nork," I was like, yeah, that's Tom Kenny. I'm like, that's Tom Kenny. I can hear it. And if it's not Tom Kenny, they hired someone that sounds just like him. And no, it was Tom Kenny who came back, and it was really, really cool. And to have him back for Spyro 1 too was really, really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool to see his take on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really kind of made all three of the games feel really unified. Yeah,
all cohesive and put together now, right? And it was really cool because so fun fact about Spyro was originally supposed to be more of a prankster. He was supposed to be almost like a Bart Simpson at the time.
Oh,
he
really?
He was supposed to be rebellious and angry. And what happened was that they started to tone that back a lot. They were toning it back. And then they hired Carlos Alazakari to do the Spyro 1, and he was told to have like this like neener type of voice.
That sounded a lot like him.
So he that was the whole shtick, and so they went with that. But when they were looking back, they found Carlos to be a little bit annoying, and they didn't like that. So they brought Tom Kenny, and they brought the more confident, but like the more the confident, but not overly too much like Spyro. They found a better fit with Spyro 2 and 3. They're like, yeah, this is what we want. And to see Tom Kenny go back, he still has a little bit of that neener, but it's a youthful, so it's like as if it still works and it's still cohesive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how Spyro, he's real confident and ready to go on his adventures, but he's not out to offend anyone, and he just kind of likes to chill at the same time.
yeah, it's just like he's just like with Ripto, it's like, who's that guy? He's just like,
yeah,
he's not even angry that like he almost blew him up. He's just like, what's his problem?
Yeah. That's so funny. How did you feel about the other cast changes they made to Reignited?
So, most of them I would say I'm pretty okay with. I mean, Ripto stayed the same, which was fantastic.
Yeah, so excited about that.
Yeah, I swing between the thought for like the original Hunter and the new Hunter. I get why they changed Hunter, because Hunter almost had, and it's almost weird to say, but in the original, because Insomniac was very tongue-in-cheek. They were like, they very much ride the line a little bit when it comes to not censorship, but like they're just like their humor. They always try to ride the line as hard as they could, especially back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And Hunter almost had, for lack of a better term, a stoner voice back in the day. And I think that was intentional by Insomniac to do something like that, something a little bit dopey, where it's like the kids just think he's dopey, and then the adults were able to catch on kind of like what really was going on. So the change of voice for Hunter, I definitely understood. Alora was great. Spyro, obviously fantastic. Yeah. I'm trying to think of I still remember the big outcry was when they changed the monk's voice, the Y-I-I, when they changed that. And I agree, I do miss the old sounds for that. But overall, I think the cast was overall well chosen. I think that everyone matched their characters well. Bianca was great. Alora was great. Moneybags was fantastic. They found a way to really develop his character from the Muppet Bear to an actual like high what would be a dapper, skis bag. Yeah. Cheapskate of all, and I really like that. I was okay with all the characters in Spyro 3. I was okay with Sheila, Bentley, Agent 9, Sergeant Bird. Well, Sergeant Bird stayed Tom Kenny, so it was still great. They were all great. They were all excellent.
And they had so much to tackle, because when these games first came out, they were all treated individually, and they had a longer time to develop, so to speak. Right. But I mean, they did these all at once. I don't know how they tackled all of that.
Oh man! But like one of the examples I love about Reignited is like how they expanded on the animation. Like one of the things that was so cool was Agent 9 and the animations they did for him. How he was just like, before he was just kind of like jumping up and down. But then in Reignited, he's on top of Spyro's head. He's zip-zapping everywhere, and he's going nuts, right? And that was something that I thought was awesome to see in Reignited. And the voice actor who did it, I think it is the original.
I think it is.
Yeah. Even the original voice actor for Sparks came back, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, so they got a lot of the cast back, but the new cast members, I welcome them. They did a great job. So I think I think they did a really good job with the casting.
Yeah, I do as well. And so we are currently waiting on news of Spyro 4. And so I guess they're kind of taking it a bit at a time, but what do you think the future holds for Spyro? Do you think it could become a new trilogy, or what do you think the future holds exactly? So I personally think that they could definitely do a new trilogy. I definitely think they could. Obviously it's all up to internal numbers and affairs and all that stuff. Yeah. Because, objectively looking at the stats and stuff, Crash Bandicoot is the more popular franchise between the two. But I think that Spyro definitely deserves a new trilogy. I think that Spyro, there's been a recent resurrection of like AAA platformers, Crash Bandicoot being one of them, and a whole bunch of other platformers are starting to come back, because before, to get your platforming itch, you almost had to go to indie studios or nothing really AAA, right? Before. So it's to see that people still have an interest in these type of games. I think that doing a trilogy for Spyro is definitely a definite good thing to do. I think that Spyro has a really bright future. I think both Crash and Spyro, there's people that just absolutely adore these franchises to absolute death, and people who just dedicate so much time and effort towards these franchises. And I do think Activision notices that, and they see how much people love and adore these games. And you know what? I think it would be silly for them to not proceed with as many plans as possible for these games. I like the idea of them swinging between Crash and Spyro different years.
I always thought it'd be cool if like the next racing game wasn't just a Crash Team Racing, it's Crash and Spyro Team Racing.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
So it's like a shared game. So it's like you would get more Spyro characters in there, but it's still at core CTR. It's still got the same mechanics and everything, but the story, I mean, they always have some wacky story, right? You know, they could have the professor be building a cart and he makes a rift by accident, and then in order to restore the rift, they have to do some zany thing, but it's the Spyro team versus the Crash team, and
how do you come up with this stuff? That is so perfect. Like Toys for Bob, please start making notes.
Well, I mean, it's like you can do anything, right? You can literally do anything, and what would be really cool is that if the dimensions are collapsing on each other, you can have some racing levels that are like two different levels smashed together. You could have Stonehill. Yeah, like Stonehill being mashed together with like Cortex Castle, and you can see like maybe like the Cortex Castle firing lasers and like a Volvo raving sheep as like a hazard. Like it turns a sheep into like a big buff sheep. If you hit it with a cart, you get knocked out. So you want to avoid the sheep. Stuff like that, funny stuff like that. Where the dimensions are just collapsing on each other because of something that either Neo Cortex or the Professor did that's causing. And so it starts off as like a team racing, but then by the end of the internal story, they're like, okay, we kind of have to work together, otherwise all the dimensions are going to fall apart, etc., etc. There's all these different ideas that could be done, some wacky zany stories. And then afterwards, to be able to quote unquote continue the racing story, there could be like one portal that was left open that's be able for either Crash or Spyro characters to be able to jump in between each other, and then the next game a supervillain can show up in one of the worlds, and then they call upon the other one to come and help and racing and such. Like just Oxide's war band can show up, and then Spyro shows up, and whatever. There's all these different wacky zany stories that could be done, and they could just come up with something funny for that, and that's it. But that would be a really interesting way to go, like Crash Spyro spin-off game, Crash Spyro spin-off game, and that will keep the franchises fresh and feeling good. And I think that that's going to be a really good strategy for Activision to follow.
Well, I think that they should follow your advice, and now I won't be satisfied until the game you were talking about comes out. I have to play this.
Yeah. Sometimes I come up with an idea, I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool, and I'm not part of Toys for Bob.
Oh, if only.
If only.
Well, why don't we take a little break from the norm and play another game?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're going to have a quick game of
Truth or Dare.
Do you dare to play?
I dare to try to play.
Well, okay. Don't worry. It's not too intense. Okay. Well, here we go. Your first question, truth or dare?
Truth.
Okay. What is your least favorite Spyro game?
Oh, that's easy. Spyro Eternal Night.
Oh, really? Please don't mention it.
Spyro, I call it Spyro Eternal Suffering. Now, people would turn around and think, oh, it would be Enter the Dragonfly. That's the default answer. And while on an objective sense, yes, it is a worse game, but there is humor to its crashing. There's humor to its bad game design. It's like it's so bad it becomes comedic. Eternal Night for me is just insufferable. Playing it just causes, like, for me to start developing ulcers. It is so.
Yeah, it's not good for blood pressure.
No, it's not. It's just no. Just that's my worst Spyro game. I see my people unsubbing for me, but I must state the truth.
Yeah, you laid it out there. It's true. I had a hard time with the Legend of Spyro series. I loved the story and how they kind of put a different spin on it, but the gameplay is something I had an issue with because I really love to explore in Spyro. Mm-hmm. And I just found myself constantly bashing these villains the entire levels.
Like, let me explore.
Exactly. Like, I just want to collect gems and explore.
I don't want to fight. I want to explore.
Yeah, but of course it does. They all have great pluses to them. But yeah, I agree with you. And Enter the Dragonfly, it at least had pretty music, and Tom Kenny was there.
Yeah, Tom Kenny existed. He was paid.
He showed up.
He showed up. He did Tom Kenny things.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, truth or dare?
Let's do another truth.
This is a big one.
Okay.
Crash Bandicoot or Spyro?
Can I say my answer and give my explanation?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna say Spyro.
Oh, yeah.
So let me explain why. So
Why?
the reason why is because Spyro was the first one that I played between them. Well, actually, no, technically not. I played Warped first.
Mhm.
But I remember my brother coming home one day from school and saying that there was a cheat code in Warped at the main menu.
Mhm.
And we punched it in and we saw text Spyro the Dragon pop up.
Oh.
And I was like, what? And what we were like, what was that? We clicked it, and it was the demo for Spyro 1 in
Mhm.
Arson's home. And I just remember just being enthralled by the world and just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And the very first PlayStation game, because all the Crash Bandicoot games were owned by my brother. I played it through him. The very first PlayStation game that was bought, that was for me, and only for me, not for the family, not for my brother or my sister. This is my game, was Spyro the Dragon. And
yeah.
so based on that fact alone, I love Crash. Don't get me wrong. I love Crash. But that is where that it's gotta be Spyro. Just by a little bit, but Spyro takes the cake.
Yeah, I can see why. That's a valid reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Truth or dare?
I suppose dare. I don't know how this is, but okay.
Okay. So the question was, what is the last game you played? But I guess yes, but I guess we'll go with dare. Are you
Okay.
ready?
No.
Okay. Could you give us your best Sparks impression? Oh my gosh, it's Sparks! How did you do that?
I don't know. I did it one day on a stream, and people were just like, "Oh my gosh, it sounds like Sparks!" And we came up with a joke where it was like we would have like an album of like Sparks singing songs, like, you know, hear him like "My Heart Will Go On," stuff like that. So it was just
have an entire album.
we were joking about that, and I did that. I did the "My Heart Will Go On" as Sparks, and people were, but I did it as just an offhand joke, right? And then people were like, "Oh my gosh, you sound like Sparks," and I was just like, "What?" And so whenever I get the chance, sometimes I'll, you know, do a Sparks impression here and there, and that's always fun to do.
You could like fill in for Andre if he's not able to show up sometime.
Oh man, that would be an honor.
Okay, truth or dare?
Let's go with truth.
Alora or Bianca?
Oh, Alora, hands down.
Oh,
Not
really?
even a competition. Not even a competition in my mind. No, Bianca, she's cool. But Alora, especially Reignited Alora, hands down.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is not even a contest in my mind.
That's funny. Okay, truth or dare?
Let's go with truth again then.
Okay, what is the craziest thing you've ever done?
The Toys for Bob. That's just. I know that this question might be angled towards like doing something like, you know, doing like something crazy but going to Toys for Bob was just.
Oh.
It was an absolute fever dream because it was fast. It was very short. So I'll tell you the story about this one. So
Yeah.
this one's funny. So I was doing, once in a while I'll do a work live stream where I'm editing a video live and people can see how I put it together and how I script it and how I voice it, etc., etc. So then I was working, and my phone was dying at the time, but I didn't know. So I was working away, and I got an email, and I heard my boom go off, and I always check my emails. I try to always be on my emails.
Yeah.
I saw that it was from my contact from Activision, and I was like, oh, well. So I get a lot of Call of Duty stuff, though. Like, they send me everything. They send me Call of Duty stuff, like the information about, you know, oh, Warzone is out. Oh, you know, here's some assets. Oh, it's mostly Call of Duty, but then you get your Tony Hawks and your Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragons. And I saw it, and all the subject line read was trip to Toys for Bob, and then my phone died.
Oh. Oh my gosh, that always happens. I have low battery or it dies at the worst possible time.
Yeah, but I sat there and my heart started pounding.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. And so on stream, I was like, I'm sorry guys, I kind of have to go. Something came up and people were messaging me like, are you okay? Was everything okay? And I was just like, I'm fine, but I'm just like, I gotta get off the stream. You can't work for the rest of the day when you find out you're being invited to California to go see Toys for Bob to play Spyro early.
Yeah,
no.
You gotta drop what you're doing.
You drop what you're doing for the week almost. So
yeah.
I hopped off the stream, I dashed into my email and I opened it up and I read it, and it was a all expense paid trip to LA to go meet Toys for Bob, and that was an incredible experience. And I messaged them, I said, okay, well, when is it? They said it's between this date and this date. And I was like, I'm up north at that time. That was my vacation, because they had messaged me about like late summer, and it was due for me to go. It was like in October. Yeah, it was due for me to go in October. And I was just like, I'm up in my cottage at that time, but I'll stay home if I have to, because I'm not missing this. But like, what do we do? So I said, I'm at my cottage. I said, do you want me to stay where I am? He goes, well, where's your cottage? And I told him where it was. My cottage is 12 hours north, in the middle of nowhere. Like no cell reception, no anything. I am in the middle of nowhere. Wow. So I was like, I'm at this place. He goes, give me a few minutes. So I was like, okay. So an hour later, they said, we'll work it out. Don't worry about it. Do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, I do. So they said, okay, can you get to this airport on this day? And it was one of the small airports at where I am. It's one of those where basically, you know, those prop planes.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying me.
And I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll get there. They said, okay. So they had my plans, my stuff set up. I was like, okay. So the day came. I still didn't believe it until I was there. I was like, there's no way. There is no way. There is no way. So I hop on the plane, and they're like, okay, you're not going to go to California in this little prop plane, obviously. They took me to Toronto. Mm-hmm. That was a long trip. So I get off, I'm at Toronto, and I'm waiting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. But there's a 4-hour time, there's like a 4-hour time difference, 3-4 hour, I can't remember, but there's a time difference. So I hop on the plane, then I hop on the next plane, and I fly to LA. And they said, okay, I got a message saying, hey, are you in LA? And I'm like, yeah, I just landed. They said, okay, here's an Uber code. I was like, okay. So I clicked the Uber code, and they said, where are you? And I selected location. What it did was that it chartered me. It gave me a free Uber ride to wherever I wanted, and then it connected me to the location I needed to go. So the guy came up. I got in. He almost crashed the car as soon as I got in.
Oh my gosh, I bet that was kind of triggering for you.
Yeah, well, he turned left. He almost got sideswiped. I was like, oh, please, dude.
Not today.
I'm like, I just got in LA. Please, dude. So he pulls out, and we drive for like an hour, and we get to this hotel. And I was the last one in because I was from Canada, you know. There was people from Rooster Teeth there. There were people from Eurogamer, people from all these big journalist websites. And apparently Ant Dude was supposed to be there too, but he couldn't make it. Mm. So I get there. I'm the last one to walk in. I check into the hotel, and they said, okay, there's a get-together going on in the back. So why don't you go there? I said, okay. So I went there. And there were all these Toys for Bob developers. They're all wearing their Toys for Bob shirts. And there's only one seat open. Only one.
No.
And it's sitting right beside Paul Yan, the creative director of Spyro Reignited. So I nervously sat down, and he turned to me, and he recognized me by first name, and he shook my hand. And I just about died right there.
You must have been shaking so much. Oh my god! The
whole time, my legs, I kept my top half calm, but my legs were just like sporadic. They were just shaking, and it didn't matter. Even though there was a 4-hour time difference, I was talking and I was going on and hanging out with everybody, and that was an experience. And then the next day, they brought me to now this is where it gets a little bit crazy. They brought me to Toys for Bob. I did an interview. with Peter Kavik, who was the producer on the game.
Oh yeah.
And then I got to play Dino Mines. And I got to play Dino Mines, and then after that, they said, "Hey, you can go play the other test builds." I got to play Stonehill. I didn't get to record that though, but I got to play Stonehill, Idle Springs, Sunny Villa. I even got to test the E3 demo of Treetops. And
oh my gosh, that is crazy!
I just had a grin on the whole day, and but here was the crazy part. As soon as I walked out, I had to get on the bus and right to the airport back home.
Yeah.
So I flew in LA one day, left LA the next. Man, the next day I was so jet lagged, I couldn't tell. Like, oh man, I was so dead.
And for it to happen, so much to have happened in a short amount of time, but you're like, did that really happen? Was it a dream?
Oh yeah, it really was. It was crazy. So yes, that is the craziest thing I have ever done. Go to Toys for Bob.
That is so cool. Well, I'd say that is pretty crazy. I'm so glad that happened.
So am I.
Yeah. Well, one more truth or dare. Truth or dare?
Let's go with truth.
Okay. Is there an embarrassing game that you love that no one knows about? We all have one.
There is. I probably have a few, but I'll tell you about the one that I discovered recently.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Star Fox Adventures.
Oh, really?
So Star Fox Adventures is kind of seen as, by a lot of people, like just a Legend of Zelda clone and cringy, especially if you watch like JonTron's video. He calls it Stairfax temperatures. And I didn't realize until later that people disliked it, but I liked it as a kid. I really enjoyed it, and I played it. I was like, this is a lot of fun. Maybe if I play it now, I wouldn't like it, but that's why I'm avoiding it, because I just want to be ignorant with my happy thoughts of the game.
I totally get that. Keep it in a happy place.
Yeah, that's it. Happy. That's it. We'll leave it at that.
A lot of games like that can have a special place in your heart. So I respect that. So do you think there's Spyro and Crash, but there's also older platformers like Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper? Do you think that they're in for the same treatment that Crash and Spyro have gotten lately? And
they should. They should.
They should, yes. And where is Sly 5?
So I think between the two examples you gave, between Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper, I think Sly Cooper has a better chance of coming back than Jak and Daxter. And the reason why I say that is because Jak and Daxter was was created by Naughty Dog, right?
Right.
And Jak and Daxter was kind of seen as and it's unfortunate because you always saw it was always Ratchet and Clank versus Jak and Daxter, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, the successor and winner was Ratchet and Clank, because obviously it's still going and still well beloved and everyone loves it. Ratchet and Clank. So yeah, to see, so obviously between those two IPs, Ratchet and Clank won overall, and then Jak and Daxter just kind of fell away. And it was like, I felt like Jak and Daxter had a hard time finding its identity. I think that was a big problem with Jak and Daxter. And though I love it, I still love it.
Oh, yeah.
Between Jak 1, Jak 2, and Jak 3, I feel like Jak 3, they really started to get their stride, but Naughty Dog didn't want to do that anymore. Naughty Dog wanted to focus on more realistic games, because after Jak and Daxter, it was Uncharted, right?
Right. They kind of had a main game for each like system, like PlayStation 2, then PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I rarely see Jak and Daxter, very rarely mentioned by Sony nowadays at all. But Sly Cooper definitely, I think, has a chance. Do I think Sucker Punch will do it? I don't know. I don't think Sucker Punch will do it, but they might work with another studio to do it. Mm-hmm. I feel like Sly Cooper has a better chance overall than Jak and Daxter, because Sly Cooper was its own thing. Sly Cooper was a stealth platformer for the PlayStation 2, and that was kind of unique.
Yeah.
And it's well written, it was funny, it was well put together, and I personally really enjoyed Sly Cooper. And
Me
I
too.
think that I really think Sly Cooper coming back would definitely be positive overall. I think Jack and Daxter would be coming back positive would be great too. I'd be just as excited for Jack and Daxter if they decided to do Jack instead of Sly, or both, or one or the other. I'd be excited for both. I'm just thinking in terms of a business sense, I think that Sly Cooper would be more likely to come back over, because even if you look at PlayStation's icons and stuff, like if I just got PlayStation 5, and when I go to my profile pictures, one of them is Sly Cooper. You can change one of your profile pictures to Sly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's PlayStation, but I don't think there's one for Jack and Daxter. I think there might be one for Daxter, but it was an old one back from the PlayStation 4. Sly one was something relatively new. So I think that Sly Cooper coming back is more likely than Jack, but I would love for them both to come back. I think that Sly Cooper hits a really interesting spot of stealth. I think that they would really need to focus a lot on the stealth in combat, but still have platforming. Still make sure that platforming is key, but because Sly Cooper wasn't just platforming, there was a lot more to it. Like Sly 2 was, in my opinion, the best Sly.
I love Sly 2.
Sly 2 is amazing. Sly 1 is good, but Sly 1 has like the worlds, and it's kind of got almost like the Spyro treatment, and it's good. It works.
It feels a little PlayStation 1 somehow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But Sly 2 was just beautiful. That was just the way it is. Open world, platforming, different missions.
Yeah.
It was great. And I think that Sly Cooper coming back in a big way would be amazing for the franchise and just the entire industry.
Yeah, and if Toys for Bob could do every one of these franchises.
Oh, I doubt it, but man, if they could, that would be awesome. Well, I mean, the Unreal Engine's being used for more. Like, you have to think, they brought back Medieval. So here's always my status check. If they can bring back Medieval, they can bring back anything. Okay?
Exactly.
If they can do Medieval, which was more than dead, double dead, triple dead, like literally you haven't heard anything from Sir Daniel. You haven't heard any of that in years, ever. And if they could bring back Medieval, they could bring back Jack and Daxter. They could bring back Sly Cooper. So my thing is, don't ever think that a franchise is never coming back, because if they can bring back Sir Daniel, they can bring anyone back.
Exactly. So, if you could, we're sort of getting towards the end of our discussion. There is something I just wanted to ask you, because I love your taste in games, and you have so many good ideas yourself. If you could sort of create your own Spyro, Sly Cooper type game, just one of those great old platformers, what kind of game would you make? What would you like to see?
So I'm a big sucker for so to give you an idea, have you ever played Rayman Legends?
I have not.
Okay, so there are these boss levels that are rhythmic. So how it works is that it plays a popular song, but it's like a parody. It's a parody of a popular song that plays in the background, and your character jump and interact to the beat. So when there's a big cymbal crash, something you coming, you have to do. So for example, the first level is Black Betty. So like you're hearing like the do at the start. You can see all the background characters, they're like bobbing their heads, and then when you hear the first guitar riff, you see a cannonball fire. And so there's this really rhythmic game, and so I think that really beautiful environments, but having a lot of these levels that are based around rhythm. Sackboy's Adventure, they have levels like that too, where they straight out have songs that are licensed. Like they have Uptown Funk, and it's like all the entire stage is moving to the music.
Yeah.
And what I would love is a game that really, really emphasizes on pairing everything together. So this is a really, really balanced way of having art, music, and gameplay come together as one synonymous feature. And I feel like a game that has audio that is synced up, and if you pay attention to the audio, you know what's coming up. Something along the lines of that, something that's all in sync, so that you can literally feel like the gameplay is in sync, the level's in sync, and the audio is all in sync, and everything's in sync, and you get this feeling of you almost enter like a flow state, a state of satisfaction,
Yeah. Really in control of your environment.
Yes, everything is orchestrated perfectly together. And if you mess up, it's jarring. It should be jarring because you messed up the flow, right?
Yeah.
You messed up the groove, and you never mess up the Emperor's groove. So
Yes.
So you know,
Out the window.
yeah, out the window you go. So it should be jarring like that. Like when you screw up, it should be felt. But once you get into the rhythm and flow of it, it should feel so satisfying to finish each level with a rhythm and a flow. And I feel like a game like that would be really interesting. Now, there is a game that's similarly to this idea that is being made by an indie developer. It's called Billy Bust Up. And I suggest that anybody listening and yourself, Keiko, to go check it out. It's an up and coming indie game, and it's not exactly like this, but it's similar with the rhythm and flow, and it's really nice. I think that games like that, but breathtaking environments with rhythmic, even if it's like not even like as obvious, if it's a very some levels may not be. If you listen to the music, you can know when hazards are coming, and you can know when things are happening.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be like okay, you have to jump on the beat, but there are like dynamic music. So as you get through the level, more of the track opens up, and more hazards come in. And if you listen and you become really in sync, it all becomes together in this beautiful orchestrated event. So I would, and then if there's a stealth level, the music should be stealthy, right? Like if if you're hearing like, the classic music that you hear is like the finger snapping, and you're hearing like, like you're tiptoeing, and then you hear like maybe some jazz music, and you see like an enemy pop up, and okay, jazz music equals enemy, but then maybe you hear a triangle, and that's when a life zings by, and okay, pay attention to that, and this will come, and you could play without being in sync with the music, but if you want to master the game and you listen to the music, you could be able to almost play the game with eyes closed. So that would be the type of game that I would like to play. That would be the type of game that I would like to make. And of course, funny, witty humor with cinematics in between, a funny story, a story that wouldn't even take itself seriously. I think breaking the fourth wall sometimes, when done right, is hysterical. It's breaking the fourth wall either is a fail or a fantastic pulled off fantastically. And I think that it would be a bunch of jokes that are well hit fourth wall breaking jokes that I think would be really, really funny. So I think that kind of style of cinematic and humor, almost like funny to compare, almost like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, almost style of like wall breaking and kind of.
Yeah.
So do you get what I mean? Just kind of like that interacting with reality, but being a cartoony. It's that whole aspect of, I think that is something that would be really well explored in terms of the story and tone for the game.
Hey, all I can say is, game developers, Toys for Bob, you've got another idea coming your way. They're looking to develop their next original game. I think I would play that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think would be really interesting, because the thing is that when you go outside of the game, when you hear the music on Spotify, or if you buy the album, you know the level. You know the level because you've played it, but you even know which part of the level you're at by listening, right? The music alone. Exactly. And I feel like that would be something that's awesome.
Yeah, you are so good at coming up with ideas like this.
Thank you.
I love it. I could just talk all day about your theories and ideas for games, and so
that's why I do. I talk all day.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you brighten people's day by sharing your love of these games and nostalgia, and I think we could all learn from you. So I was wondering, do you have any advice for people who are wanting to start a channel like yours, or they have similar interests?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of gurus out there that will tell you all these different things. There's all these people that will tell you'll see all these videos that say how to get, how you can get million subscribers, and the thing is, the first and true thing that you gotta know is nobody knows the algorithm. We have ideas, we have things that are normally seen as good, and things that are known as bad, and things you should and shouldn't do. And there is a soft rule book, But in general, nobody knows how the algorithm works, because a lot of people believe that they have good content, but the algorithm is the reason why they're not doing well.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's hard to come to accept that there are people that literally are subscribed to 2,000 channels. There are people that are subscribed to so many channels. There is no way they could consume that amount of content. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So the algorithm shows up to say, hey, I'm going to help you direct to your current interests right now. So you're on a Spyro craze, I'm going to push Spyro videos. Oh, you just suddenly wanted to look up how to play the ukulele. Okay, well, I'm going to show you other ukulele videos. And you suddenly want to learn how to cook. Well, I'm going to push these videos. And it's not going to, and then, hey, remember, and then sometimes they're like, hey, I remember you were on that Spyro craze. One of the top creator of Spyro right now just made a video. Do you want to go check that out? But that's how the algorithm works.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just make a video and throw it into the dark abyss and hope that it does well. Because I'll tell you something, YouTube gets uploaded 600 hours per minute.
It's just crazy to think about.
Right, think about that. 600 hours in one
Wow.
day. The amount of videos uploaded in one day, you couldn't watch every single one of them in your lifetime.
That is insane.
So how can you make sure that your video stands out from the rest? Because there are millions of people trying to upload. So how do you do it? Well, my advice to you is literally use social media, and that will be your friend. So what you have to do is you have to create what I like to call a cycle. And it's literally, there's a business side to YouTube and a creative side to YouTube. And this is the business side, is that your Twitter feeds to your YouTube feeds to your Twitter feeds to your Twitch feeds to your Instagram feeds to your YouTube feeds to your Twitter. You have to make sure you create that cycle. And what you have to do is that you have to be a part of a community. You have to take part in a community. So if you go on Twitter and let's say your interest is, let's use an example, Crash or Spyro, or both, maybe all those, Crash, Spyro, and Sly Cooper, and Jak and Daxter. And that's your interest. That's what you want to talk about. That's also what you want to talk about. What you do is start joining a community. So what I mean by that is interact with people, talk with them, make friends. And not friends like friends for business. No, actual legitimate friends, because there are friends for business, and that's all you're going to stay as. Make friends. Talk to
Exactly.
people. Right? If you're at 38 subscribers and you make friends with someone who's got 20 subscribers, hey, that's fine. That's cool. You two hang out, make videos on each other's channels, be chill, make jokes about each other, and grow together. Right? Because sure, you might only have 30 and they might only have 20, but that 20 goes over to you and that's 58, or that 38 goes over to the 20, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how growth happens. And then all of a sudden you get a third friend that pops in, and you know what? You played a game of Among Us with them and they have 1,000 subscribers. Well, hang out with them, but see them as friends, not as steps. Don't see it as a ladder. See it as friends, and create your own little group of YouTubing friends where
You share the same passion.
Yes. And let me tell you something, that is something that will get you far, because what will happen is one of your friends or you yourself are going to encounter a bigger fish. And it might be an interview. It might be and what I mean by a bigger fish is a YouTuber. Like, let's say if you're around 1,000 subscribers, you'll meet someone that might have 10,000 subscribers, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever. And the thing is that if they like you and you're friends and you say, hey, can we work together on a collaboration? They'll say, sure. And then guess what? That YouTuber's fan base will come and check your content out. And then not just that, they'll not just check out your content, they're going to check out your friend's content, and then that's going to attract more people, and then that's going to attract new viewers, and then the new viewers are going to go check out the big fish, and then like the big fish, and then bring it back to, it's all a cycle.
It's a domino effect.
It is. You have to focus on your connections, because the YouTube algorithm isn't going to do it for you. It won't. It won't do it for you.
Well said.
It's not going to work for you, because 9 times out of 10, it's very rare for someone to say, I want to make YouTube videos, and then just get even 1,000 subscribers within the year with no help. just by creating, unless it is a beyond amazing, unique idea, which is almost impossible nowadays. It's really, really hard to have something that is genuinely unique. It's very difficult, and to be able to, those were the channels that, even those channels though, that get buried too. Even those channels get buried. But
yeah,
the fact is create a connection, a network of friends, and legitimate friends. Don't use them as business steps, because if they do, they're going to notice.
Yeah, they're not pawns to be used.
Exactly. If they feel like that you're just using them, they will buck you out. They will push you right out of the friend circle, and you're not going to get any businesses. Yeah, you'll be an acquaintance, but if you only come to them for just business stuff and that's it, they're not going to care. They're not going to care. But play Among Us with them. Play Crash. Play CTR with them. Play games with them. Hang out with each other, even outside of your passions that you guys normally got to meet together on. All right. Play Fall Guys. Play League. Play multiplayer games with them. Play Pictionary, Among Us, whatever the case may be. Hang out with them and build a friendship, because the thing is that if those people hit gold, they'll take you with them. They will, because they're going to look back and say like, hey, this person was always there for me. They always helped me. They always were awesome. If I can help them be able to grow and build, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to help them. And that's what's happening, is that we're growing and we're building, and we make friends. And like I said, not friends for business, but friends, because if you do it friends for business, let me tell you, it's a noose. It is a noose, because you might get a surge at first, but then
not going to last.
No, it's not going to last. But when you make genuine friends within the community that you want to create your content in, you're going to go places. That is a big. Now I'm friends with Crystal. I'm friends with Crystal Fissure. I'm friends with Jordan Fringe.
I love him. Yeah.
All right. I'm friends with all these guys, and I'm genuine friends beyond business. We have conversations that are outside of business. We talk about our interests. We talk about and it's genuine friendship, and that is legitimately how you grow and build. And that's it. That's literally that's the quote unquote secret sauce is. And also, like I said earlier at the start of the podcast, passion. If you don't have passion, it's going to show. So you need to be passionate about what you love and do, and find others that are passionate about what they love and do that are similar, and create bonds and friendships together with them. And
exactly. I think that is wonderful advice. Listeners, take note. He knows what he's talking about. I was wondering, do you have any plans for the future or upcoming videos we can look forward to? And could you tell the listeners where they can best keep up with you and all that you do? Okay, so we're going to be bringing back Triple R, Remade, Rebooted, Retired. We're going to be bringing that franchise back. It was short-lived, and it was found well, so we're going to be bringing that back. I have some nice interviews with a certain someone from Toys for Bob, and I had a very nice conversation with someone from Insomniac. So you're going to be seeing those videos posted soon. That's exciting. It's very exciting. Of course, you can keep up to date with all Crash and Spyro and nostalgic platformer content at Canadian Guy 8. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm there all the time. It's at Canadian Guy 8 with the extra H. There's an imposter out there. I'm, very sad. I'm very sad that he took the name. I even contacted him and asked for the name back. He said he'd give it to me, but he can't remember the password. So that's pain. I can imagine. Yeah, it's so Canadian Guy 8 with the extra H for now. You can follow me on YouTube. I also stream every Thursday and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch me on YouTube and Twitch. And we're going to be covering hopefully all Spyro 4 content. Oh my gosh. I know, right? As long as there's a Spyro 4, which I think there is, Spyro 4 content, Crash Bandicoot. We're going to be streaming Ratchet and Clank soon, Pokemon Snap. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming. There's going to be a lot of fun on the channel. And if you're into all that, hope that you come and check it out. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know. Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. You're actually our first guest on our first episode. So yeah, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I'm so glad it was you. And so as we wrap up this episode of Keiko's Diary, I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in, as well as Canadian Guy 8 for joining us. Time flies when you're having fun. And so if I could ask one last thing from you, Canadian Guy A, could you tell the listeners?
I am Canadian Guy A, and for MLA Entertainment, check out their original web series, Project Infinity. And as always, keep being creative.
You got it. You heard it from here.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Until next time, I'm Keiko, sending positivity and creativity your way. And remember, keep being creative. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Keiko's Diary. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We would love to hear from you. Write questions and comments to show your support and share this podcast with your friends. We'll be back with another exciting episode before you know it. In the meantime, keep being creative.